Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Fly to Freedom, which I'm a little bit nervous about, to be
So
honest.
am
It's a whole family affair. We have my husband here, Dave, and we even have the dogs in the room. So who knows what could happen? Um,
Do you know what? This is actually quite surreal. Here
so
I am as a guest on your podcast.
I
That is so
know
surreal.
it is. So first of all, you don't get away with not answering the
Oh,
quickfire questions.
I didn't prepare.
So, there's no point in asking you about books, is there?
No,
What is your favorite smell?
wood smoke.
Oh,
I love the smell of wood smoke. It's one of those smells that if you go into a quaint country village in the wintertime and everyone's burning their open fuel fires and they're burning oak or chestnut or something like that, the smell is just beautiful. So yes, I love wood smoke.
okay, awesome. When you were a little boy,
Ooh.
what did you want to be when you grew up?
That's actually a really difficult question because I literally don't know. I'm one of those people that I wasn't exactly programmed to do something as when I grew up, but I come from a farming background, and I guess I always knew that I would do something in farming.
Okay, if you were a dog,
Listen to this, girls.
what breed of dog would you be?
Because she's so cool, I would have to be a border collie poodle, in other words, a bordeodle, just like our Eve's here.
Okay, you cool, Evie. Hmm.
She knows she's cool.
What's the worst job you've ever done?
Oh, I think probably I was working on my uncle's farm and we had to clean out the slurry pit.
Ew.
And you can imagine cleaning out a slurry pit with a jet washer. Yes, you get fairly well plastered. And actually, I remember coming home to you that evening and told to go back outside the door again.
It was a pretty shitty job then.
I love it. Yes, it was.
Okay, and last question. If you had a magic wand and you could use it once to change one thing about the world, what would you change?
That's about the hardest question of all, isn't it? Save the hardest till last, why don't you? I think I would change the world's reliance on plastic. It's
Interesting.
something that has been completely blown up over the last 50 years. Um, and it's completely unnecessary. And I think we're doing the right thing by trying to reduce plastic now. So, yeah, I would probably rewind the clock however many years it is, 50, 100 years, and not invent plastic.
Cool. Okay, so we are going to chat
Oh,
about.
this is going to get really scary, guys.
I'm quite nervous actually. We're going to chat about my recovery
Mm-hmm.
and your part in it,
Mm-hmm.
and how you felt and I felt in our relationship and in my recovery
Mm.
and all that jazz. So,
I think it's important. I mean, it's quite a big moment, really, to be talking about this sort of
not for you
stuff.
to be allowed on a podcast.
I'm allowed on a podcast, which is a big moment in itself. But I think it's important we do talk about it because the people that support, those that are in recovery or struggling with an eating disorder, I've not actually come across them having a voice. So I think this is fantastic. Hopefully, fantastic.
So, when you married me and all through our marriage, you didn't actually know I had an eating disorder. You just thought I was kind of obsessed by fitness and healthy eating, right?
Yeah, I certainly had no clue that you had an eating disorder. And when in the very early years of our relationship, you weren't really that much into fitness either, but you certainly were into healthy eating and food and what goes in our bodies and all that type of thing. So yeah, I thought that was just Julia.
Okay. And when things got really, really bad, you were kind of oblivious for quite some time. Probably because you're a farmer and it was blueberry season and you weren't in most of the time.
Yeah.
So when I actually couldn't put that mask on at the end of the day to try and pretend that everything was okay, and I broke down to you, how was that moment for you? Tell us.
Well, I think we need to go before that moment, really, because it wasn't just, for me, it wasn't just a case that one day you broke and it all came out. I think that you had been struggling internally for a very, very long time. And it was only when and all of that time, you were doing a lot of exercise, you were crossfitting, you were running, you were just exercising all the time. And I had no clue what was actually going on. It had got worse, a lot worse over the last few years. And I had no clue what was going on because you very capably not excused what you were doing, but you very capably explained the behavior that you were doing by saying that you were trying to be toned and you were trying to be fit, and that's why you were doing the level that you were doing, which to me was absolutely fair enough. Had no problem with that whatsoever. So I think that's one of the reasons why I actually didn't notice. I hadn't got a clue. I didn't notice you were getting thinner and thinner and thinner, and everybody around you also didn't notice for the same reasons, because you explained it so very, very well. When you did finally break the news to me, that's the wrong phrase to use, but when you did finally tell me what was going on, you were what, 3-4 months into complete breakdown.
Yeah.
I think you'd broken down to your best friends in June, and I was in the middle of blueberry season, harvest season. I just wasn't here, and I found out about it in September. So that's a long time for you to be going through the hell that you were going through, without me being there by your side. So I think the first thing I felt was really guilty. I felt so guilty that you hadn't felt that you could tell me. And that was a really bad feeling for me. I'm a fixer. I don't like to see people in trouble or in pain or anything like that. I like to try and fix problems. I remember the day that you told me, the first thing that you said to me was, David, you have got to promise me that you're not going to try and fix me. That was the first thing you said in that conversation.
Yeah. That's because you are a fixer and that was what you wanted to do. And what did you do next to try and fix me?
Well, I didn't try and fix you. I took you on holiday.
Right.
And your head was all over the place. You weren't able to make a decision. You weren't able to think. You had found yourself in situations that no human should find themselves in terms of what you were thinking and things that you were trying to do, and all that sort of stuff. And I was being a good boy and not trying to actually fix you. So I thought I would take you away from it to try and give you some headspace. So where it was just the two of us and nobody else mattered. And so I took you on holiday.
Okay, awesome. And it did give me headspace, but obviously it didn't actually do anything for healing me. But it did give me a headspace, so that was good. And I was able to think a little, try and get a little bit of clarity, as much as my poor starved brain could have clarity.
You read a lot.
I read a lot, yeah. And
when I say read a lot, Julia researches everything to death. So we took so many books on eating disorders and the mind and how the mind works and all this sort of stuff. We took so many books on a holiday, and you devoured those books next to the pool.
Yes. So how did you feel having a wife that had been so strong, independent, capable, and never asked for help, to suddenly having a wife that literally couldn't make a single decision and was just like a shell?
It's very difficult, very difficult. I think it's certainly it required me to really step up. So from my own personal point of view, I knew that I had to step up. It felt very difficult that seeing you in the state that you're in. I used to look across the dinner table at you, trying to eat something, and I used to catch your face, just out the corner of my eye. I used to catch your face, and your face just had so much pain on it and in it, and that was incredibly difficult. But I guess those hard times are when families and people who love you really come together, gather round, and our role, if it is a role, I suppose it is a role. Our role at that point is to support you and carry you and take whatever places and whatever actions we need to take. And that's how we all looked at it. It's not just me, the rest of the family and everyone else who loved you.
So previously I hadn't ever asked for help. I wanted to do everything independently, and I wanted to not need anybody and do everything myself. When I asked for help and allowed you to help me, was that something that you wanted to do?
Oh, yes.
Tell me more.
Oh, yes. I think everyone at some point in their lives needs help with something. And if you have people who love you, and everybody has somebody who loves them, they may not be who you even expect them to be, but everybody has somebody who loves them. And we all want to help those that we love. And it's almost, thank God for that, she's actually asking for help.
Okay.
It's not a case of have I really got to help. It's not like that at all. It's really a welcome time when somebody asks you for help. Yeah.
One of my fears was that asking for help meant that I was weak and pathetic.
No, it means you're strong. It means you're brave. Quite simple.
Okay, enough said.
I'm going to be blunt about that. Asking for help and recognizing that you have something you need help with is a remarkably brave and strong thing to do.
I now agree, but at the time, it felt like a weakness. So, why did you book the holiday? I mean,
we're going back to the holiday.
There's one of my questions. See?
Yeah. Why did I book it? Do you know what? I don't actually know. I think my own life, because of how I was trying to deal with what was going on, my own life was a whirlwind. My mind was all over the place. Trying to work out what the heck was going on. Because it's not a situation I expected.
Okay.
I think I've no idea why I actually booked a holiday specifically, but I just felt that we needed to get away.
And how do you feel about when I started eating, I got really, really bad edema, and I was really absolutely exhausted, like so exhausted I couldn't do anything. And I also had to stop all exercise. And I kind of became like a couch potato because I didn't have the energy to do anything. And so all the stuff, all the housework, the shopping, the walking of the dogs, and the general life that I'd done and you hadn't had to worry about before was all of a sudden there and I wasn't doing it.
Mhm.
How was that for you?
Time to step up. Said it before.
Okay.
You know, I and the rest of the family and everybody around you, we had to step up. We had to take on stuff that we may not have done before because you did so much. It was a pleasure to do that. It's, I think, also as you've learned about your eating disorders, we've also learned about them, and we've learned that rest and all the things that you were having to do to recover are incredibly important. And if I'm going to say we hadn't stepped up and taken over those things, you wouldn't have been able to rest. So therefore, your recovery would have been slower. Therefore, we wouldn't have got Julia back.
True, true. And there is, even when you think there's like that you have to do stuff, there is always a way to get help or to, it doesn't matter if your house isn't clean. It doesn't matter if you order a takeaway because you haven't been shopping.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, you've got, we will all adapt to whatever is thrown at us in life, I believe. And everything will be all right in the end.
Yeah, this is true. Okay, so big question here. I gained weight fast.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I gained weight really fast, partly because I got such bad edema, and partly because my body was just like, right, let's grab this and keep it because who knows when the next famine's going to come along. Obviously, gaining weight was something I was absolutely terrified of doing, and the fact that I gained weight really fast was just a massive head fuck for me, and I really struggled with it. A part of that struggle was because I did not believe that you could possibly find anything about me attractive when I had gained weight. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, with great pleasure.
Obviously, you can worship me now and no, carry on, talk to that.
Well, there is a bit, part of that does come into it, doesn't it? Because, we've been married quite a long time. And
28 years.
28
actually.
years. 28 years last Saturday.
Yes.
And we've been through a lot together.
Mm-hmm.
A hell of a lot together. And the root of everything, of any marriage, I married you, not what you looked like. I married you for who you are and what's in here, not the external Julia. And that was never going to change.
Okay. But there were times in our marriage where you were like, I'm so proud of your figure. I'm so proud of your hot tone fit figure.
Yeah.
And that's gone.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, yes, I may have been proud of that then. I'm now incredibly proud. Unfathomably, I can't put numbers on it, proud of the journey that you've been on now and where you've got to and what you're doing and how you've actually tackled your illness. I'm more proud of that than I ever was about your tone figure. There's no question of that whatsoever.
Oh.
Well,
Thank you. Okay, so let's go to the elephant in
I
the
almost
room.
had you speechless then. Almost.
Yeah, okay, right. Back on track.
I think I actually got the speechless, folks.
On the part of, okay, it's a difficult conversation. So during our marriage, our sex life was never wonderful, and it was probably the biggest source of arguments within our marriage. We didn't argue loads, but when we did argue, it kind of centered around the fact that you wanted it and I didn't, and it was always coming from you. And when I started recovery and I gained weight, you weren't fucking allowed to touch me at all. And that caused problems. That caused a lot of problems.
So I'm going to turn this one back round to you. I'm going to ask you a question now.
Right.
So before you started recovery, and how if okay, so we're not going to get X-rated here, but it is a very important subject. But how did you feel when I wanted a more a better sex life than we had? How did you feel when and you didn't want it? What were your feelings at that point?
Pressure. I wanted to want it, but I didn't want it. A pressure to make you happy.
And is that linked to the eating disorder?
Yes, it's linked to the eating disorder. Yeah, so no, I didn't really want, I didn't have a sex drive particularly at all. No, so generally it was to make you happy, not for my benefit. And yeah, I did feel pressure. But then when I gained weight really quickly and I had the edema and I was exhausted and I was really, really struggling with my changing body, I couldn't look at me naked, let alone let you look at me naked. And I literally wouldn't let you touch me.
Yeah, that was hard.
And we had rows about it.
Yeah, we did. I can't really put words on how I felt at that time. I think quite possibly, as a guy, we tend to be a bit selfish in that department, and I think I probably felt a level of rejection. I think that's distinctly possible, and I also remember thinking that whilst you felt really bad about yourself, I didn't see the same thing when I looked at you. Goes back to the conversation that we had earlier about you putting on weight and how did I feel. So I couldn't see the problem. We guys are simple people. We don't have the complex thought processes that you girls have in general. And it was quite simple for me at that time. But oh boy, did things change.
Okay, so at one point in my recovery, the entire drought of sex drive
became a flood.
Suddenly became a freight train that hit me with a ton of bricks. Hit me like full on. And actually it scared me because I thought I was an nymphomaniac. I was like, I even drove up to London for booty calls.
Oh my goodness me.
From not being allowed to touch me to basically being assaulted at every moment. How was that?
Well, it felt like when we were first having kids and you're like, right, come on.
It was more than that, though.
It was way more than that. Way more than that. I couldn't work out what was going on in your head. I liked it, but I couldn't work out what was going on in your head. What was going on in your head?
It was just primal urges, I guess. It was just like, I suppose my body felt nourished enough to start thinking about other things other than survival. And I don't know, I didn't realize it had saved up all the years worth of thoughts and hit me with them all at once.
Isn't the body an amazing thing?
Unbelievable.
Isn't the brain an amazing thing?
Yeah. So moving on from sex now. Oh, by the way, the sexy freight train thing does also settle down, and I wasn't an nymphomaniac the entire time. Now we just have a generally healthy sex life.
I'm so hoping our kids aren't watching this.
They won't. And if they were, they'd have switched it off by now. So part of recovery Awkward.
Mum,
Part of
Dad.
recovery. Just shut up. Part of recovery. God, talk about sex with a man, and all he does is giggle. Part of recovery is knowing that you are stepping into the unknown, and it's really scary not knowing who you're going to be without the identity of the eating disorder. It's more than scary, it's really terrifying. And not knowing and stepping into the unknown. And that terrified me, but you had no idea who I was going to be either. So how did that make you feel?
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Yeah, we had a conversation, didn't we? I can't remember where we were, what we were doing, but we had a conversation about this exact subject. And I seem to remember the conversation going something along the lines of, I'm in recovery, I'm doing quite well, but I've got absolutely no idea who I'm going to be at the end of it. I'm likely to be somebody completely different. And to me, because prior to that conversation, I'd learned that pretty much everything about you for the entire time that I'd known you was linked to an eating disorder of one type or another. In my mind, rightly or wrongly, I still think rightly, that meant that a huge amount of the person that I'd been with for all that time was going to change. Yeah. And neither of us had a clue what the new Julia 2.0 was going to be like, who you were going to be, what your attitudes to everything were going to be. We had no idea. And frankly, as a husband, that is terrifying. I'm really grateful now that this Julia is very, very different from the old Julia, but my God, in a positive way.
Talk to that. What's the differences that you see?
Recovered Julia is confident. Pre-recovery, Julia would not make a phone call.
This is actually true. Yeah, I wouldn't speak to a stranger.
You would not speak to a stranger, and now look at you. You have a podcast and you interview really cool people and have really cool conversations.
Is this including you now?
Well, I'm on the guest list now. That's it.
This is a one-time only moment.
Yeah, all right. Okay. But you, pre-recovery, there's no way you'd have done that. You wouldn't even phone the plumber to get a plumber to come and fix something. New
Julia wouldn't be on video. I wouldn't allow my photo to be taken.
No. In fact, I remember early in your recovery that. So let's just pause that now, then, shall we?
Someone's at the door.
I know.
Recording in. So we were talking about, before we got so rudely interrupted by the supermarket delivery, we were talking about how I was going to be a different person and how that was scary to you, and you hadn't known me without the identity of the eating disorder. And I do remember we had a conversation where I said that I was really scared because I didn't know who I'd be, and I didn't know if I'd like the person I am or I was going to be. And you said you didn't know if you'd like me either. And that was really hard to hear.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. We've
excuse the shaking dog.
We've always had very open and honest and frank discussions, and that was one of them. And I've never been used to having to watch what I say particularly. And
more on that in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I know what's coming. I'm prepared for that one. And yeah, that was a frank discussion, and I didn't know at the time. I didn't have a clue. And in just the same way, I think really what I was saying is, yeah, I'm scared as well. I'm I'm terrified, you're terrified. Let's see where we get to. And we have. And we
So
are.
you were talking about the difference in me now with my confidence,
Mm.
and the fact that I will phone people, be on video.
You want me to pick you up some more?
I'm interested in what other differences you see in me.
Um, you have a glow about you now.
It's not just because I'm hot, I'm not freezing all the time.
Well, that is a very good point. You're not freezing all the time,
No,
and you always were freezing,
yes.
and you were cold to touch, and your blood pressure was through the floor, and yeah, there were so many things on that side of things that are different now.
Mm-hmm.
You're healthy now. Your mind is clear, ish.
It's clearer than yours, matey.
Exactly. I had to say ish because I knew that was coming. You are a different person, but a very lovely one at that.
Keep going, keep going.
No, I'm not doing anymore. You had it now. That's it.
So let's pick up on you saying that you're not used to being careful what you say and what you do, and how some of what you said and did really didn't help my recovery.
Yeah.
And triggered me a lot. Your own exercise regime was very, very triggering to me, because you can be a little bit compulsive yourself. Let's not go into that. But
goal driven,
that's what it's called, is it? Okay. And obviously, when I wasn't able to do any exercise because I had to literally cut everything out, that was really hard, really, really hard to see you going, oh, I'm going for a run and that sort of thing. The hardest were your comments on what I was eating and how much I was eating when I had to start eating in the night and I was getting extreme hunger.
Belvita Gate.
And some of your comments sent me spiraling into the start of a relapse.
Yeah. And that's very true. And I think for anybody that is supporting somebody with an eating disorder, this is for you. It's incredibly hard to know what to say. It's incredibly hard to know what not to say. And it's very easy to get it wrong. And the impact of saying the wrong thing can be very triggering to somebody with an eating disorder. I totally get that now. Now. But back then I didn't.
No.
And I suppose part of every comment that I've ever made has been made from a place of love. And I, in my head, was trying to help. And I didn't know because I got a bit more of a clue now, but I didn't have a faintest clue about how the mind of somebody with an eating disorder worked. Didn't have a clue. And it's very easy for somebody on the outside to be like, well, why aren't they doing that? Just eat.
If only it were that simple.
What's so hard? Just come on. There's a biscuit. It's a biscuit. Just eat it. I know now, having been on this journey with you, it really is not simple at all.
No.
And one of the best things that I think I did to help you is take as much of a back seat as I possibly could and let you work with the wonderful and very, very special Victoria, who was your coach.
And gave you hell for your comments.
And gave me hell and still does.
She does not.
No, she doesn't, to be fair. I one of the best things I think I did was to step as far back as I possibly could.
Yeah.
And let you and Victoria get on with it. And just be there if you needed me.
Yes, I would agree. Because as much as you wanted to help, you were not an eating disorder specialist.
Nope.
And it's really hard. I appreciate that it is really, really hard to understand how somebody can be so terrified of eating. I
It's
mean,
weird.
we need food to keep us alive. That's like being scared of breathing.
Mm.
It makes no logical sense. So I get that it's really, really hard to understand from somebody that's not in it, but it doesn't make it any less real.
No, it's frustrating as well.
Yeah, I guess it probably is. But the basic rules are do not comment on how someone looks and do not comment on what they eat, how much, how little, or what it is.
Just be really grateful that they're eating something.
Yeah, that's just like
internally.
Huge rules. Yeah, internally grateful, not externally grateful.
Yeah. And actually, that externally grateful thing is quite an important lesson. Was quite an important lesson for me. It would be very easy for me to really celebrate you eating something, but that in itself wouldn't have been a particularly good move for you.
No, it would have felt really patronising.
Yeah.
From you.
Yes.
It didn't from a coach, but it would have done from you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Is there anything else you would like to talk to?
I feel like I need to say yes, but I actually don't know what.
What, have you got a message for people who are trying to support somebody in recovery?
I do.
Or hang on, let me finish my sentence.
Okay. I'm always interrupting, aren't I?
Or for somebody in recovery to think about how to communicate with the person supporting them.
Both, I think. So really, for somebody who is supporting somebody with an eating disorder, the really, really important thing is to love unconditionally. Be there, but at the same time, don't be there too much. Make sure that your loved one has got somebody who really knows what they're talking about. Preferably somebody who they can go to with anything. Somebody who has been through it is ideal. There are lots of eating disorder coaches out there. Obviously, I'm married to a very special one, but there are lots of eating disorder coaches out there. And your loved one needs to find somebody that they really resonate with.
On that, I would also say stepping up to do the practical stuff like sorting out the dinner, the washing, keeping things tidy, walking the dogs and all that. That's incredibly helpful. The mundane, daily, day-to-day stuff takes so much pressure off because most people, not everybody, but most people in a restrictive eating disorder are really quite obsessive and want everything to be perfect and really struggle with things out of place or things not done. So stepping up to do that, even if you did fold the washing wrong every time.
How is there a wrong way to fold washing?
There is when you were a perfectionist about it.
But again, we don't necessarily see that. But stepping up and doing that stuff
that makes such a difference. That's incredibly supportive in what might seem a really mundane way, but to have the things that you normally do done and you don't have to worry about them is huge. That's so helpful.
And actually, I suppose, ask what things your loved one wants from you. What do they want you to do?
But
what
they might not be able to answer you.
Yeah.
Depends how much mental capacity they've got at the time.
Yeah. For those who are going through an eating disorder, I think it's important to understand that those around you who love you are also hurting. Yeah,
that's a really good point.
They are hurting a lot, not as much as you, I'm absolutely sure, but they are hurting a lot because they want to support you. They want to do the best things for you. And sometimes it's difficult for you with an eating disorder to open up and allow and let them in.
Yes.
And it's when you do open up and let somebody in that those relationships really get very, very strong indeed. So if you have an eating disorder and you're struggling with the people who love you, just understand that they're coming to you from a place of love. They may not be doing the right things, they may not be saying the right things, but they are coming to you from a place of love. And try and let them in to help you if you can.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really good. Actually, that made me think of something else. So we're not quite wrapping up yet.
Oh, joy.
Our relationship now.
Yeah.
So gone through recovery, started on a new life path.
Yes.
I'm a completely different person to the woman you married.
Yes.
And to the woman you spent most of your married life with.
Yeah.
How do you feel our relationship is?
I celebrate you every day.
And worship? No, I'm
joking. Steady. Sometimes. Yeah, I mean, quite simply, I said it earlier on, I'm incredibly proud of what you're achieving and who you've become. I think the whole journey has been super duper hard.
Yes.
Super hard. But every day, yeah, you're still challenged by things every single day. There's all sorts of things that you have to think about, and you realize, oh, yeah, okay. And
I'd like to clarify that's not on eating and body image.
No. But as a person,
yes.
And those things make you a better person, and by almost in turn, I become a better person as well because I'm with you. That's really gushy, isn't it? But
so I would say our marriage is stronger than it's ever been, because I would say we're closer than we've ever been, probably because I'm able to be more open, and share, and I don't see asking for help as a weakness anymore. I see it as a strength.
Took you a while to share.
Yeah, so a slow learner.
You did not.
Once I got going though.
Yeah.
So yeah, recovery doesn't mean losing relationships.
No.
I personally believe it strengthens them.
I would agree. And keeping on with the recovery strengthens even more. Yeah,
it kind of morphs into personal development, doesn't it? There's always a higher level. There's always more to explore, but that gets exciting. That gets like, wow, what can I learn about myself now? That's not the fearful, terrifying moments of eating disorder recovery. It's just more personal growth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for being open, being vulnerable, discussing our sex life and our marriage.
Yeah. Never discussed our sex life on in the open before. That's there you go.
No, but thank you for being with me, for supporting me, and for standing by me through my recovery. And I do appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you as well. And thank you for recovering. It's been a hard journey, and it could easily have gone a different path, and I'm really pleased it hasn't.
Love you very much. And thank you guys for listening. If you've got any questions or any comments or to get in touch, give me a shout, Instagram or email. And if you've got any questions for Dave, you can also give me a shout and I'll pass them on. Unless you want to give out your details. No, okay. I'll pass them on. All right, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast. See you next time.